This story began back in 2021, and that summer we began getting pictures of a deer that wasn't super high on our radar at the time, but we had our first encounter with him during early muzzleloader season, and that is exactly where the story began with the deer known as Ricky Bobby. So going into the summer of 2022, we started to get pictures of him. It was undeniably him with his bobtail, and he blew into an absolute giant. Like, we both were blown away. I knew that he was the deer that I was going to go after, and it was going to be him and only him. Ricky Bobby would love to see him tonight.
It is Saturday, October 23rd. Sunday, November 13th. Back in here for Ricky Bobby. We're in here hunting Ricky Bobby.
Going into the 2023 season, our efforts before were always early season, but it seemed like his pattern seemed to change from November and into December. He was very regular the year before in 2022. So our every effort to get him that year was based on that. Where we put food, where we hung stands, where we put the blind. Everything was geared towards Ricky Bobby, and everything, the stage was set. And my first sit wasn't until the end of October. And so we were sitting up in the stand. It's October 28th. We were super hopeful that we were going to see him. We'd had some pictures of him. And as we're sitting up there, we get a picture of him, and he's about a mile away on a different food plot. But that again is when the game of cat and mouse began.
Number one, Ricky Bobby. Friday, November 3rd. We're in here obviously for our number one, Ricky Bobby. It's Saturday. It is November 17th.
I gotta try to get him over here.
Shooting him obviously would have been the icing on the cake to a perfect season, but if it had to go anyway and not get the shot, I was totally content in that moment. That deer had been a ghost. I hadn't seen him since 2021, and sitting there that night made me super emotional. All the sits for him, everything just came together in that moment, and it hit me how much that deer really meant to me. No matter how this story ended, that night made it all worth it for me.
Sunday, December 10th, and we're all set up here in the blind for shotgun season. This is my first sit back here since Ricky Bobby's no longer around. It's a little bittersweet sitting here not knowing that he's not here, but we've got some other deer in here that need to go. A couple of bully bucks, I would say, so. And he just...
There's gonna be 1.65.
I'm on him. On him.
Matt,
Let me take him.
Matt.
Shoot it.
Got him.
It was not Arden.
No, because he was behind him. 4-year-old.
Oh my gosh, there was a pile of deer.
Those were just drops. She stopped right here, Matt.
I can't get him. On her.
I am.
Reloaded, and then here come one last straggler. And she stopped right in front of us, so I think I felt good about the shot. She definitely mule kicked and took off, so. We were standing here reviewing the footage, trying to figure out right exactly where it was at, right here where he was standing, and Emmy said, I found blood. And she did on this little twig here, so he was definitely standing right in here. It's a cool.
You second.
I would be lying if I said initially there wasn't a tad bit of disappointment when I realized that it was a deer that I had already passed. But we're also learning and trying to remind ourselves that some of the attitudes that we have about hunting is also not what we want to portray to our kids, and that it's about having fun and getting out and shooting what gets your heart pumping. And this deer definitely had both of us excited last night.